The bustling corporate headquarters of Meridian Technologies stood tall against the Chicago skyline, its glass facade reflecting the morning sunlight. For Amara Wilson, this day marked a pivotal moment in her career. After 15 years of climbing the corporate ladder at rival companies, weathering storms of discrimination and doubt, she was about to step into her new role as CEO of Meridian. The board had kept her appointment confidential, planning to announce it at today's executive meeting. Amara smoothed her tailored navy suit and adjusted her statement necklace, a gift from her grandmother, who had cleaned offices in corporate buildings like this one. "Remember who you are and where you come from," her grandmother always said. Those words had become Amara's mantra throughout her journey from the south side of Chicago to the C-suite. The security guard at the reception desk glanced at her visitor's badge. "Ms. Wilson, Mr. Pearson asked that you wait in the conference room on floor 32. The executive team will join shortly." Amara nodded, her heart racing with anticipation. She had spent weeks researching every department, memorizing reports, and preparing for this transition. What she hadn't prepared for was Richard Harrington, the marketing director known for his impressive campaigns and, as she would soon discover, his problematic attitudes. As she rode the elevator upward, Amara reflected on her path to this moment, the countless late nights, the promotions she'd been passed over for, the time she had to work twice as hard to receive half the recognition. Today wasn't just a personal victory. It represented possibility for others who looked like her. The elevator doors opened to a pristine hallway adorned with awards and recognitions. Amara made her way to the conference room, finding it empty except for a young assistant arranging water bottles and notepads. "Good morning." Amara smiled. "I'm here for the executive meeting." The assistant looked startled. "Oh, are you with the catering team? The refreshments should go on the side table." Amara took a deep breath. This wasn't the first time she'd been mistaken for service staff. "Actually, I'm here for the meeting." Amara Wilson. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Wilson." The assistant's face flushed red. "Please take any seat. The team will arrive shortly." Amara chose a seat in the middle of the table, not at the head where she would soon belong. She wanted to observe the dynamics first, to understand the culture she was about to lead. She pulled out her tablet and began reviewing quarterly projections one last time. Minutes later, executives began filtering in, nodding politely at the unfamiliar face, but making little effort to introduce themselves. The boardroom filled with the sound of expensive shoes on hardwood and the subtle scent of designer colognes and perfumes. These would be her direct reports, the people she would need to lead, inspire, and sometimes challenge. The chair beside her remained empty until a man with silver-streaked hair and a custom suit that screamed success dropped his leather portfolio beside her. Richard Harrington had the confidence of someone who had never been told no, whose ideas were always met with approval, whose position had never been questioned. His cologne announced his presence before he did. "You must be from HR or legal," he said, not looking up as he checked his Rolex. "Here to take notes?" The conference room was now filled with the top executives of Meridian Technologies. 12 people seated around a gleaming table, each representing a critical division of the company. The air buzzed with anticipation. Everyone knew this meeting would include a major announcement, but only the board members knew the details. Amara smiled politely at Richard. "Actually, It doesn't matter," Richard interrupted, waving his hand dismissively. "Just make sure you capture everything accurately. The CEO announcement is today, and we can't have any miscommunication." Before Amara could respond, the CFO stood up to address the room. "Before we begin, I want to mention that our new CEO will be joining us today. The board has completed an extensive search, and we're confident in our selection." Richard leaned over to Amara, whispering loud enough for nearby executives to hear. "Between us, I was shortlisted. Been with the company 15 years. Nobody knows this place like I do." He straightened his tie with practiced precision. "But they probably brought in some diversity hire to check boxes. That's the game these days, isn't it?" Amara's expression remained neutral, though she felt her pulse quicken. She had encountered men like Richard throughout her career, men who saw her achievements as quota-filling rather than merit-based. She chose her words carefully. You don't think the most qualified person might also bring diversity? Richard chuckled condescendingly. Look, sweetheart, I've been in this industry longer than you've probably been working. Merit and diversity rarely go hand in hand at this level. It's just facts. The CFO continued. Our new CEO has an impressive track record of turning around struggling divisions and identifying untapped market opportunities. They consistently demonstrated the vision we need. See what I mean? Richard smirked. Not a single mention of actual business acumen or proven leadership, just vague corporate speak to mask the obvious. Amara took a sip of water, using the moment to compose herself. Those qualities sound quite substantive to me. Richard checked his phone, barely acknowledging her response. Tell me what division did you say you were from again? I don't recognize you. I didn't say, Amara replied calmly. A board member stood up now, joining the CFO at the front of the room. We're particularly impressed with their ability to build diverse teams that consistently outperform projections. Their approach to inclusive leadership is exactly what Meridian needs as we expand globally. Richard could barely contain his eye roll. He leaned back in his chair and spoke louder now, no longer attempting to whisper. Inclusive leadership code for lowering standards. Mark my words, this company is going to suffer. We need someone who understands merit trumps melanin. The room fell uncomfortably silent. Several executives shifted in their seats, eyes darting between Richard and Amara. The tension was palpable, but Richard seemed oblivious to the discomfort he had created. The board member cleared his throat. Actually, Richard, we believe the opposite is true. Companies with diverse leadership consistently outperform their more homogeneous counterparts. The data is quite clear on this. Richard scoffed. With all due respect, sir, those studies are manipulated to push an agenda. I've watched this industry for decades. The most successful companies are led by people who earn their position, not those handed it because of how they look. Amara placed her tablet down slowly, her movements deliberate. The room had grown increasingly uncomfortable, with several executives now staring intently at their notepads or phones, unwilling to make eye contact with anyone. Richard, a senior vice president from across the table, warned, perhaps this isn't the appropriate venue for this discussion. No, this is exactly the venue, Richard insisted, his voice growing louder with confidence. We're talking about the future of Meridian. If we're bringing in someone who's inexperienced but ticks demographic boxes, we should be honest about it. He turned to Amara, apparently deciding she was a safe audience for his views. No offense to you personally. I'm sure you're great at your job. But at the executive level, these diversity initiatives are destroying corporate America. You put someone in a position they're not ready for, they fail, and then everyone acts surprised. The CFO's face had turned ashen. Richard, that's enough. What? I'm just saying what everyone in this room is thinking, Richard continued, seemingly emboldened by the shocked silence. Look, whoever this new CEO is, I'll be respectful to their face. But between us, he gestured around the table, we all know why they were selected, and it wasn't for their business brilliance. Amara took another sip of water, her expression unreadable. The weight of the room's discomfort seemed lost on Richard, who continued checking his phone between comments. In fact, Richard added, nodding toward Amara, I'll bet our friend here gets promoted before I do, despite my track record. That's just how things work now. He laughed, expecting others to join him. No one did. The board chairman finally entered the room, his presence commanding immediate attention. He was followed by two board members, their expressions serious but expectant. Good morning, everyone, the chairman began. Today marks an important transition for Meridian Technologies. After an extensive global search and unanimous board approval, we're ready to announce our new chief executive officer. Richard straightened his tie and subtly pushed his shoulders back, a man preparing to appear graciously surprised. Before I make the announcement, I want to emphasize that our selection was based on exceptional qualifications, proven leadership, and a clear vision for Meridian's future. We evaluated dozens of candidates against rigorous criteria, and one individual clearly stood out. The chairman smiled as he surveyed the room. Many of you haven't had the opportunity to meet her yet, but she's here with us today. Richard's smile faltered slightly at the pronoun. It is my great pleasure to introduce Meridian Technologies' new Chief Executive Officer, Amara Wilson. For a moment, the room was completely silent. Then, like a wave, realization spread across the faces of everyone present. All eyes turned to Amara, who calmly stood, smoothed her jacket, and walked to front of the room with measured confidence. Richard's face drained of color. His mouth opened slightly, but no words emerged. He looked like a man watching his career flash before his eyes, which, in a way, he was. "Thank you, Chairman Davis," Amara began, her voice steady and authoritative. "I'm honored to join Meridian Technologies and eager to work with all of you." She surveyed the room, making eye contact with each executive before allowing her gaze to rest briefly on Richard. "I believe in building companies where excellence and inclusion reinforce each other, not compete, where judgments are based on performance, not preconceptions." Richard stared down at the table. His earlier confidence evaporated. "I've spent the past month studying every aspect of Meridian's business. I've reviewed performance metrics for each division, analyzed our market position, and identified our greatest opportunities and challenges." Amara clicked through a presentation that displayed her comprehensive understanding of the company's operations. The executives watched in a mixture of awe and trepidation as she dissected the business with precision that could only come from meticulous preparation and exceptional business acumen. "Marketing, in particular, presents some interesting opportunities," Amara noted, turning slightly toward Richard without directly addressing him. "While our campaigns have been visually impressive, our market penetration in diverse consumer segments lags significantly behind our competitors. We're leaving substantial revenue on the table." Richard's complexion had moved from pale to slightly green. "I look forward to discussing these opportunities with each department individually," Amara continued. "My door will always be open for those who bring solutions, embrace innovation, and respect every voice at the table." The message was clear to everyone in the room. As the presentation concluded, Amara thanked the board and executives. "I'd like to have one-on-one meetings with each of you over the next week. My assistant will reach out to schedule these conversations." The chairman stood again. "Please join me in officially welcoming Amara to Meridian." The room erupted in applause, enthusiastic from most, mechanical from a few, and barely perceptible from Richard, whose hands moved together only once or twice before returning to his lap. As the meeting broke for a brief reception, executives lined up to introduce themselves properly to Amara. Richard remained seated, paralyzed by the realization of what had transpired. When the crowd around Amara finally thinned, he approached with visible trepidation. "Ms. Wilson," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, "I want to apologize for my earlier comments. They were inappropriate and don't reflect my true beliefs or Meridian's values." Amara regarded him calmly. "Interesting. They seem quite emphatic for beliefs you don't hold." Richard swallowed hard. "I misspoke. Badly. The pressure of the CEO announcement. I was nervous about change." "Change can be challenging," Amara acknowledged, "but it's also inevitable. The question is how we respond to it." The following morning, Amara arrived at her new office before sunrise. She wanted time to prepare for the day ahead, particularly her 9 o'clock meeting with Richard Harrington. Her assistant knocked lightly on the open door. "Mr. Harrington is here." "Early." Amara wasn't surprised. "Send him in, please." Richard entered, his usual confidence replaced by cautious deference. He carried a thick folder and had clearly prepared extensively for this meeting. "Good morning, Ms. Wilson, or should I say, CEO Wilson?" His attempt at lightheartedness fell flat. "Amara is fine in one-on-one settings," she replied, gesturing for him to sit. "Thank you for coming in early." Richard nodded nervously. "Of course. I've prepared a comprehensive overview of our marketing initiatives and—" "Before we get to that," Amara interrupted gently, "I'd like to address yesterday." Richard's shoulders tensed visibly. "Again, I want to express my deepest apologies. My comments were inappropriate and inexcusable. They were," Amara agreed, But more concerning than the comments themselves is what they reveal about underlying attitudes that likely influence hiring decisions, promotion recommendations, and team dynamics within your department. Richard began protest, but Amara raised her hand slightly. I've reviewed the diversity metrics for the marketing division. Richard, they're the lowest in the company. Turnover among women and minorities in your department is nearly double the company average. Exit interviews cite cultural issues and limited advancement opportunities consistently. The data was damning, and Richard knew it. He sat in uncomfortable silence. Here's what's going to happen, Amara continued. I'm not firing you today. Richard's relief was palpable but short-lived. Meridian needs marketing leadership that understands all our consumers, not just some of them. You have 90 days to present a comprehensive plan to address the issues in your department. This includes recruitment, retention, and advancement opportunities for underrepresented groups. You'll work directly with our new Chief Diversity Officer, who starts next week. Absolutely, Richard nodded vigorously. I'm fully committed to making these changes. Your performance metrics are being revised as well. Amara continued. Going forward, 30% of your evaluation will be based on measurable improvements in these areas. Failure to meet these targets will affect your compensation and future with the company. Richard's expression reflected the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just about apologizing, and moving on. His entire approach to leadership was being challenged. This isn't punishment, Richard. It's accountability, Amara explained. The comments you made yesterday didn't materialize from nowhere. They reflect attitudes that have likely influenced your decisions for years, whether consciously or not. Richard's defensive posture gradually softened. I understand. Do you? Amara asked, because I need to know if you're capable of genuine change, or if you're just saying what you think I want to hear to save your job. Richard was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice had lost its performative quality. I've never had to question my assumptions. My success seemed to validate them. But yesterday, I saw myself through others' eyes for the first time, and I didn't like what I saw. Amara studied him carefully. That's a start. Self-awareness is the first step toward change. What's the second? Richard asked quietly. Action, Amara replied. Consistent, deliberate action that demonstrates your commitment to creating an environment where everyone can thrive. Richard nodded slowly. I want to learn. I need to learn. Good, Amara said, because Meridian's success depends on leaders who understand that diversity isn't about lowering standards, it's about raising them by including perspectives that challenge our thinking and expand our vision. For the first time since they'd met, Richard was truly listening. 6 months later, Amara stood at the podium during Meridian's quarterly town hall. The company had experienced its strongest 2 quarters in 5 years. Market share was up, employee satisfaction scores had improved, and their latest product launch had exceeded all projections. Success isn't just measured in profit margins. Amara addressed the assembled employees. It's measured in how we grow, how we adapt, and how we learn from our mistakes. In the front row sat Richard Harrington, a different man than he had been half a year earlier. His department had undergone significant changes, not without resistance and setbacks, but the results were beginning to show. Marketing campaigns now resonated with broader audiences, and his team reflected a diversity of backgrounds and perspectives that had transformed their approach. I'd like to recognize the marketing team for their exceptional work this quarter, Amara continued. Under Richard's leadership, they reached new audiences and increased market penetration in previously underserved segments. Richard hadn't merely complied with Amara's requirements, he had embraced the challenge. The 90-day plan had evolved into a comprehensive strategy that was becoming a model for other departments. His initial resentment had gradually transformed into genuine commitment as he witnessed the positive impact of these changes. After the town hall, Richard approached Amara. I never properly thanked you, he said. For what? Amara asked. For not firing me that day. For seeing the possibility of change when all I'd shown you was arrogance and prejudice. Amara smiled. I believe in second chances, richer when they're earned through hard work and genuine transformation. I was wrong about so much, Richard admitted, but especially about you. Your leadership has transformed this company not because of some quota, but because you're simply the best person for the job. The irony is that diversity and merit were never opposing forces. Amara replied, "They are complementary. When we expand our definition of what talent looks like, where it comes from, and how it expresses itself, we don't lower standards, we discover excellence we might otherwise have missed." As they parted ways, Richard reflected on how close he had come to losing everything because of beliefs he had never questioned. His journey wasn't complete. He still caught himself in moments of bias, but he was committed to the ongoing work of change. For Amara, Richard's transformation represented what was possible when accountability met opportunity. Not everyone would change as he had, but those who did would help build the kind of company and world she envisioned. That evening, as Amara packed up her office, she noticed a photograph on her desk of her grandmother standing proudly outside the office building she once cleaned. "Remember who you are and where you come from," Amara whispered to herself, more certain than ever that she was exactly where she needed to be.